Well, it's another beautiful day for a walk down to Cottonwood Park, and you can't argue or complain about a beautiful plus 16, I think it is, with a sky like that as blue can be, and a beautiful Cottonwood Park right below me. Great day for a walk. Now I'm gonna head down this path and head up on that hill that overlooks the river over there and just spend a little bit of time to think. You know, the hardest thing about coming down to Cottonwood Park here is the fact that when the snow comes, it's really not a great place to be. So when the snow all melts and I'm able to come down here and enjoy this area, it makes it all worth it. I've come down here kind of midday. It's about 3 p.m. and it's not the greatest time to see deer or other animals because they usually move in the mornings or the evenings. But before I do my express entry step-by-step course video today at 5, I had a little bit of time this afternoon, so I just couldn't resist. So although I won't be able to see too many deer or other critters roaming around here, you can just see from the blue sky behind me that today is a day to go trekking. And I'm just about to the final destination here. It's definitely going to be a little bit windy, but this here is the hangout spot. And this is kind of fun. So what I like to do as I'm sitting over the ledge is look for animals, and I found 2 nice little Canada geese here, and they are enjoying themselves. As I back off a little bit, you can see one's feeding, the other standing guard, looking for people, animals or critters that are going to eat them. And just to give you a little bit of a better look, that's how I mount it on my spotting scope. And then down there is my good friends, the Canada geese. And if I zoom in here, you can kind of see them down there. But that's what I love to do, is I look out across this whole area. I can sit up on the top of the coulee and look down into the trees or across the river. And it's pretty fun, I must admit. As a kid on the farm, we would just love to find these things. It's a nice swarming pile of red ants, and you can get right in there close and see they are busy. Now I don't know if they know that there's a good chance that it's gonna snow again, but they're sure preparing. Good on them. Look at those guys working so hard. But the worst thing of all is when you don't realize that the ant pile is right there, and you decide to set up, say, your sleeping bag for a nice camping trip. You got the perfect spot, can't figure out why no one's taking it, and then you realize, as they start to crawl all over you, that there are ants right next to you. think this guy realized that this is a nature reserve and he's not supposed to be riding his motorcycle. Well, there's nothing quite like someone riding a motorbike through a nature preserve, but I'm assuming the guy just didn't realize where he was riding. You know, it really makes you wonder how many thousands of years, well, hundreds, I don't know, it would take to carve this into the banks of a coulee like this. And I thought I'd just put in here this picture of some ammonite. And this rock, which is a fossilized snail or other shellfish, is found all along these eroded coulees, all along the Old Man River. And every once in a while, you can find one. And this is after it's been all buffed up and everything. But this is a really, really cool aspect of this river basin. We'll come back when it's warmer in the summer, and there's a good chance we'll see some beaver, some good old Canada beaver, in this lodge here. So you can imagine how long it took them to build this. But they're just resting. They're not ready to come out yet. And this is why nature reserves are really frowning on motorbike riders traveling the paths here in the park. So it'll be kind of hard to see, but way back up there where the little line of the hill drops down into the trees, that was my lookout point. And then I walked all along the river, and you can see there's still a little bit of snow on the river, all along back to here. I'm really getting a chance to scope out Cottonwood today. I'm not exactly sure what these ravens are doing, but it sure is cool when you watch them fly and how they navigate just on the wind without even having to flap. Very cool. This is kind of a neat spot. This is where the deer, when the wind is blowing and the snow is blowing, this is where they bedded down for the night. So you can see how the grass is all laid down, and that would be a pretty good place for shelter on a cold winter night. This here is kind of like a deer highway. So all of the deer that come into Cottonwood Park tend to come along this path right here. Now this is interesting because along this path here, in addition to the deer, you can see these tracks, which are coyote tracks. And sometimes I come down here in the evening and the coyotes are just a-howling. And so you have to assume that they're probably in hot pursuit of some poor unfortunate deer. And the coyotes always hunt in packs, and those of you who are unfamiliar with the coyote, they're kind of like, well, they're a dog, kind of like a wolf, but a lot smaller, and kind of like a medium-sized dog. So they have to work together, but man, can they tear apart a deer when they ultimately catch one. Well, it's a little wet down here. So unless I want my boots to be completely mud, I think I'm gonna have to get up onto some higher ground here. Fortunately, these guys just bend out of my way. And that's the handiwork of a beaver who thought it was a good idea to chew that off. But he just decided to leave this. I guess maybe it was a little bit bigger than he had the ability to drag down to the river. And this little draw right here that runs right along that bank, well, that's where I like to sit and watch the deer as they come in. And they can get pretty darn close, as I'll show you. And this little spot is called Ewok Village. And the reason it was is because this tree that fell here, they'd built a tree house. And you can kind of almost see the steps, and I'll show you. But that tree right there, many, many years ago, formed a part of these trees right here that the farmer down here, whoever lived down here, they built a tree fort for the kids. So as the deer come walking up here, they can literally go and walk right underneath there, and they don't even see me sitting just a little bit up above. And this is Ewok Village. And you can see here, as I step up on here, there's the steps. You can see how old it was. The kids who built this, they were engineers, man. Because those steps go right up that tree. And this tree must have been just the best anchor tree of them all. But eventually it too fell. So I like to sit right down in there and watch the deer come from back there and back there. Whitetail deer. So these steps, boy, they are old. And then you get some weird, funky stuff. I don't know what kind of demented person, but they gathered up all of the deer skulls from all over and hung them around here for some person or thing or purpose. But I'll show you the rest of this weird stuff. That's all right in here. And I'll give you a little close-up of the gruesome deer skull. Oh, it's even got tufts of hair on top. That is so disturbing. Okay, and now I will tell you, if you have a queasy stomach, then don't watch this next part of the video. So there is all kinds of deer bones all over, including this nice vertebrae. Why? And then they've stuck bones and intertwined them into this wire fence. No clue why someone would ever do that. Well, I had to do a little bit of house cleaning here, but I feel a whole lot better after I've removed all the bones and scattered them all over, because that was really disturbing, I'll be honest. Oh, one more. This is the culprit, the last one to get rid of. It's kind of a little bit gruesome just grabbing something and, you know, some dead skull. But I want to get rid of this. So you got to do what you got to do. All right, here it is. See you later. Well, that's still in sight, but at least it's no longer hanging from the tree. And now I'm just gonna head back to, as long as I don't fall here. It's amazing as you get old, your balance goes, to my little hangout spot there and chill. Have you ever noticed when you're in the wilderness that your senses get heightened? You can hear every bird chirp, every leaf rustle. You can hear the wind so clear. and even, hopefully, that pack of coyotes that's creeping in to get you. Yeah. Well, it's starting to cool off here a little bit now. Just about after 6:30. Well, a little bit after 6:30. So it's time to put on Old Faithful here. All right. Time to head her back. Well, it's time to say goodbye to Cottonwood Park and Ewok Village here behind me. Now that I've purged it from all of those deer bones. You know, as I'm getting ready to head back, I remember what my wife told me just a couple days ago. She said, Mark, let's not walk in those trees. It's tick season. Wow. I have definitely been walking in the trees with no hat on, so I'm going to need to check for some ticks when I get back. Anyways, such is life. Well, I didn't see a single deer down here today, but some people may say, Mark, how do you know there's even deer down there if you haven't seen any? Well, this is how. Yippers, those little gems. The birds are starting to roost in the trees now. And there's a woodpecker. If you listen careful, you can hear him pecking into the tree. Seriously, the moment I start to record, that beggar stops pecking. There he is. Oh, that's awesome. And this is kind of the last, I guess, evidence of man, the boardwalk that entices you to come down here. But I'll be honest, not many people do. This is not a path that many people trod. Even though they made these nice fancy little steps here to make it easier to climb up. The reason is the wind catches me as I climb up here. The reason is because there are rattlesnake here in the summer. There are tons, there's warnings everywhere. And of course, there's wind. You can't forget wind either. But that path, yeah, there's rattlesnakes. They just come and hang out here when it's really hot. And those rattlesnakes hang out in the coulees over there. And so they come slithering down onto the path. And apparently people don't like to walk on paths where there's lots of tall grass and rattlesnakes that are waiting beside it. But if you're smart enough to look for them and watch out, this is a fantastic place. I just love it. Of course, March is not rattlesnake season, but you can see there's lots of places for them to kind of curl up in the grass. And then when the sun's really, really shining, they come out and sunbathe on the paths. And you do have to be careful. Another reason people don't like coming down here is because that there is the path back up to the parking lot. I'll be honest, I actually did expect to see a little bit more action down here than I saw. At least one deer or two deer, but sometimes that's the way it is. And right in there is where the rattlesnake like to hang out. That's where they den through the winter. You can kind of see why. Nice and toasty warm in the summer, just the way they like it. And then they make their way out here onto the path. Yep, rattlesnakes. Well, just a little bit further. I just have to climb up those stairs and I'll be back shortly. Zigzag, back and forth, back and forth. And this fatty, boy, I'll tell you, I'm feeling it. They actually just built this staircase about a year and a half ago. And before they built it, this was a narrow path, just a footpath with lots of tall grass on the sides. A favorite spot of rattlesnakes. They would always hang out right along the edges, and then when it was getting a little bit cooler and the sun wasn't as hot, they would come and then hang out right on this pad. Well, not this pad, but the path where the ground was nice and warm from the day. So unsuspecting hikers would come running down the path, turn the corner, and pretty much run over a rattlesnake. And that is why this lovely park right here is not as frequented. All right, Cottonwood. See you later for today. I will be back.